My name is Kathy Everett, and while I wear many different hats, today I'm going to talk to you about my role as a mother of a child that has a developmental disability. I have two children. My oldest daughter is Jennifer. She's going to be 33 this month, and my youngest is Sarah, who is 29. Jennifer was born with Down syndrome, and she was born in 1987, and back then things were a lot different than what they are now. There was still a big push to institutionalize people, and while I wasn't told that that's what I should do with my child, I know lots of other people that were told that. I started her in earlier intervention programs as early as I possibly could, and I started learning as much as I possibly could of what I needed to do in order to help her have a good life. I ultimately became an advocate for her, definitely, and for others. And she was included by my insistence when she started kindergarten. She was one of the first two people in my school district at the time to be fully included. And it was something that I truly believed in. And so she was included all through school. Every year, it was something we still had to go through the procedure and the measures for, because people, didn't believe it. They didn't want it. They didn't think it was going to work. But she's proof that it does work. And my daughter is also nonverbal. So that presented another whole issue for what we were trying to do. She went into middle school and then into high school, still be included. Sometimes she was in resource classes, but in the old days, a resource class, which in Georgia we tend to call it interrelated resource class, was a lot different back then. It was really mostly students that had learning disabilities. And so for all practical purposes, it was honestly and truly, it was still a regular inclusive class for me. There were times where for sure I had to help people know how to modify her curriculum. And sometimes I modified it. Sometimes I just told them how to do it. There were times where I told them this isn't really important for her to learn. And I think that's one of the key things that you have to look at when you're talking about inclusion is what is it we really want this person with a disability to learn? And so saying to my daughter in middle school, now they learn it earlier, but that she needed to learn the phases of the moon, she doesn't have that kind of visual acuity. I knew she could never do that. And so I told them, don't worry about that. If she can learn sun, moon, and stars and know what they are and where they are, I'm happy with that. So I tried to work cooperatively, in all honesty, with all of my teachers and all of my administrators, along the way. I'm sure some of them were a little intimidated because of my knowledge, because I did have my master's in special ed, but that shouldn't have had anything to do with it. I think that any time a parent comes to a meeting that has a lot of knowledge, it tends to put people on edge a little bit, and it shouldn't, because there should be no things hidden. It shouldn't be, some ulterior motive that somebody has that isn't put out there on the table. I always have believed that if Jennifer was going to live in society, she had to grow up in society in order to learn how to handle that. She had to learn how to get along with people, how to have social graces with people. And those other people had just as much right to get to know her. And I felt it was important for them to get to know her because those are the people that were going to be her friends, her neighbors, her co-workers, and that kind of stuff. So it was very, very important to me for her to be included. Even in high school, she was included, and she was the only student at Chattahoochee High School in Fulton County that was fully included, that had a cognitive disability. And so we had to work through different things. There were some things that some teachers did, though, that just really, really warmed my heart. Like in a social studies class, there was a song where they could learn all of the different countries of Africa. And so the teacher had sent it home to me, a tape of it, and the words. So I was going through it with Jen, and I thought, you know what? I'll just have her she signs. And so we did sign language for each of the different countries. The teacher was so encouraged by that she actually opened up, because the other kids said that they wanted to do it too, that they wanted to learn some sign and do the first letters of all of the countries. So it was really a cool way to have her included and to have the other kids doing some things that she was doing too. We did run into some problems that we had to work through. I will tell you that one of the best things I did was push for her to be on the lacrosse team. And she was the water girl on the lacrosse team and would fill up all the water bottles during practice and have the water bottles out there for them during the games. And she was also on the volleyball team for 3 years, lacrosse and volleyball for 3 years. And the volleyball team, during the practice, she was busy because she went and, I guess they call it shagging the balls. And she went out with this basket and was gathering all the balls. And she knew that was her job. And if somebody else went to go get a ball that had gone out, she would like hurry up to go there and get it for them because she knew that that was her job. During the games, she didn't have as much to do, but she was able to sit with the girls, and that was great for her. She enjoyed that. The girls were a little hesitant at first. They felt like they were taking advantage of her by having her shag the balls because it's something that they don't like to do. And so the coach asked me if I would talk to them, which I said I would gladly do. And I explained to them that they're not being mean to her by having her do that this was something she could do and feel like she was a part of the team for. And so it was really a good thing for her. So they were all great with it. There were times where in the cafeteria at school, I was told that, she would come in and some of the girls would say, Jen, come and sit by us, because she was a part of their team then. She knew people. She doesn't know a stranger in all honesty, but those people really, really took notice of her and engaged with her, and it was a great experience. As I said, I did have to fight at times to get what I needed for her. One of the things that as new teachers, I beg of you is to please give people a chance. Don't put preconceived ideas or notions about what they can and cannot do based especially on an eligibility. My daughter can do so much. People are surprised that, when I used to go in to talk to classes, I used to say, well, Jen likes to do the same things that you guys like to do. How many of you can swim? She swims like a little fish. How many of you can ride a bike? We're not so good at riding the bike as of yet. She did learn how to ride one though, but it was things that were common things. And I said, how many of you know how to snow ski? And this was up in the Chicago suburbs. And a lot of them, they were young kids, so a lot of them didn't raise their hand. I said, Jennifer can, and she loves it. And she did. We had gone out to Colorado several times, and she absolutely loved snow skiing. She was a little daredevil, which made me nervous, but that was okay. When it got ready for her to finish with school, when she was getting ready to turn 22, that last year, she went to Alpharetta High School, which has a community-based instruction program, CBI. Different districts call it different things, but basically, it's a self-contained classroom where students with cognitive disabilities go, and they take them out into the community several days a week, and they still get to go to some classes, they say, and they help prepare them for the world of work. The sad part is that while they put them in a different job each semester to see what they like and what they don't like, they don't actually try to find them jobs. So that was left up to me to still do when she graduated. I got her a job at Publix. I made lots of phone calls and knocked on lots of doors, and I was able to get her a job at Publix, and she has been working there now for over 10 years. Actually, this summer it's 11 years. And she loves it. I mean, that gives her purpose. And it's really nice to see that with her, that she wants to wake up and she wants to go to work. And she only works 3 days a week, and she only works part-time on those days, but it's enough for fulfillment for her. She does stay very busy. She is in all kinds of different athletic things like swimming and bowling and I don't know what else she does, tennis, baseball. She just has been on the Miracle League Baseball for years. And so I think that when we give people a chance and we don't put unnecessary limits on them, that's probably the best advice that I could give you. Be willing to open up your heart and your mind. And if you look at it with your heart, there's no way that you could turn these kids away because they really will get to your heart. You will feel so grateful for everything that these people are able to learn, that the fulfillment that you feel from it is going to be overwhelming. I mean, I have never met somebody, in all honesty, of all the years of my daughter's education, I have never met a teacher who regretted it. I have never met a person in the class, a student, who has regretted it. On the contrary, I have had lots of them be thankful and actually write letters or contact me and tell me thank you for pushing this, because it really opened up a whole nother side of them. And so they were really happy about it. There are still some parents who don't think inclusion is for everybody, and that's okay. I think that people have to do what they feel comfortable with. I think that modifying the curriculum is something that should be left up to the special ed teacher, but I will tell you that a general ed teacher, the more and more that they got to know my daughter, they would then be able to make some modifications on their own. And some things were real easy and some things were harder to make the modifications for. And sometimes it was deciding what we really wanted her to learn in that class. Because even though she's in that general ed class, contrary to popular belief, she does not have to meet the same standards as the other students. That's why she's on an IEP. And so with that being said, the curriculum can be modified to any level. In the law, it does not say how much modification would require them to be pulled out of a normal environment. What the law does say is that we are to provide an education in the least restrictive environment, in a normalized as possible environment, and we are only to remove that person from there after we have used appropriate supports and services and the child is not making progress, which is not the case. It doesn't say how much progress that they have to make. It doesn't say how much modification has to be done, just that you're supposed to start with the least restrictive environment, which is the general education classroom. The law doesn't say anything about inclusion, to the surprise of many people. But again, it's to the letter of the law, it's putting them in the least restrictive environment that's important. I have no regrets whatsoever about what I have done for my daughter all of her life. She is very socially appropriate. She is pretty independent. I don't let her cook on the stove. She can put things in the microwave. She probably could cook on the stove, but I am just a little more hesitant of that still. And now that she's living in a small group home, she lives in an apartment with 2 other girls that have disabilities, and they have 24-hour staff there. So the staff helps make the meals and stuff. And like Jennifer can do her own laundry. So she has a day a week or 2 days a week that she can do laundry. Each of the girls have 2 days. With the staff help. And so, she's living a great life. She's living the life I had always dreamed of her being able to live. And she's able to do all of that because of how much I had to advocate for her over the years, and because I found people who were willing to listen and learn. And that is so important. I don't want anybody to tell me something that I can't learn. And so, I think that we all have to look at our hearts and our minds for all of that. So I hope you guys have a great first year of teaching, and I will see you later.